So guys, today we had the suggestions that got passed to the developers, and with that I'm gonna show some of them that I think we need to have, okay? So we start off one made by Verdrovnir. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry. But it is the RB27 or the AIM-26B for the Swedes, for the J35XS, or the future editions of the J35F and J35J. So basically what he's suggesting over here, and it was passed to the developers, is the addition of the AIM-26B for the J35. I don't know if you know this, but it is this missile over here. The missile on the Mirage 3S C70 of the Germans, right? This is the AIM-26B. It is a radar-guided missile that, of course, already talked a lot about in the game. It is a pretty good missile. You know, it is pretty interesting. It is a version of the Falcon. Of course, we have the F-106 using some variants as well of the Super Falcon. But in a general sense, this one would be a little bit stronger. It's a little bit of a different version out of it, right? But it would come for the Swedes for the Saab J35XS, right? Which is a missile that they can actually use. I would include here that this vehicle, the Finnish one, if I'm not mistaken, they bought R13Ms for this vehicle as well, and we don't have those in the game. So if Gaijin would add these two missiles, it would be very cool. Of course, with a future edition, I still believe it's kind of weird that the last Draken that you can get on the normal tech tree is the J35. To be honest, it is the only one, which is insane if you ask me. We have two premium ones, one that is not appearing over here, but the A model that you could buy, right? It is not for sale anymore. The XS over here, and then we have the Squadron F-35 for Denmark, right? So where are the others here? Add more on the tech tree, including, you know, the J, for example, or the F models. Some more modernization models very close to the XS for the tech tree. I think it would be it would make sense. I mean, we have, you know, the DI and DI over here. Why not have another Draken that's modernized and not behind a paywall, right? But yeah, the AIM-26B would be a very interesting weapon for the Draken, this one, and any future modernizations of Drakens that can get added for the tech. Another one that I don't know, I feel like it's complicated. I don't like too much, but at the same time, it has a very interesting history behind it, which is a Voldarsky suggestion here, which is something that a lot of people talk about, the MiG-21 F-13-007, which is basically the captured Israeli MiG-21 that even got its way into the US on Area 51 to actually be tested. It is a very interesting story of the Cold War, history in the Cold War, right? Aircraft, but at the same time, it wouldn't make a lot of sense because, you know, it's complicated because it's only one aircraft. So maybe as an event vehicle or something like that. What drew my attention to it, and the only reason it's not just history behind it, of course, because that wouldn't be enough for something like this to be added to the Israeli tech tree, right? It would be that they actually tested other missiles onto it, like, for example, the Shafir 2. So it would be very interesting to see this MiG-21 just because of the Shafir, not because of the history too much, because, I mean, it kind of opens up a precedent of captured stuff that I kind of don't like. I mean, it's complicated. This is borderline what I don't like, but I just found it very interesting to have a MiG-21 with Shafir 2s, right? That's kind of the only reason. Of course, it would have some very cool skins, like, for example, this one, which is pretty interesting, right? Very different. Of course, it probably is painted like this just to not get shot down because it's a MiG-21, right? And I think the most interesting one would be this one, which is basically that they actually deliver this aircraft to the United States, right? Which is insane, right? Think about that. The Soviets actually sold this aircraft for the Arab countries, right? And Mossad actually, managed to get one pilot to defect with this aircraft. So it's a major security flaw for the Soviets, and probably the main reason why later, one of the main reasons, right, why later the Russians, they never sold like fully modernized aircraft for the Arab nations later, right? Because they were afraid of this type of thing. A MiG-21 with an US, you know, this like decal there, right? So roundel. So it's the history behind it is very cool. I will leave the link in the description. You can read it. It's more like a kind of a spy movie kind of situation, which is pretty interesting to read. But the major thing here, I don't like too much of having captured aircraft. Honestly, it just opens up a precedent of stuff that I really dislike. But this thing would have the Shafir 2, which is an amazing missile. So having a MiG-21 F-13 with finally a good missile would be very interesting. So I don't know. I'm divided. You tell me in the comments if you should see these or not. Another one made by Armen Lozoni. It is a pretty interesting Swiss-German AA system. So the Rheinmetall Oerlikon Skyguard M. So this is based, look at this, a tractor together with the thing. So it's basically a tracked AA system, okay, that can be added. It is very interesting because it has a pull-stop radar and stuff. Nothing too fancy, but it is pretty interesting as you see. Normal search radar, tracking radar, optical systems, but it is of course towed, so we would need like this tractor. It doesn't need to be this tractor, but a towed kind of situation, right? So you would have that, as you can see the radar over here, very cool. And then of course you would have the launcher on the sides over here, as you can see. So very, very interesting. It is kind of a lower range than what we currently have in top tier, so it wouldn't have top tier missiles, right? But it would be very, very cool. So like I said, it uses a pull-stopper radar and also has these missiles. So it would have these options of missiles. So the Crotale, the Rapier, AIM-9C, AIM-7s, the Chaparral missiles, right? So overall, these would be some forms of things. You can even carry a gun on it, a Vulcan 20mm, right? So it is pretty interesting. It depends very much on the trucks and everything. I mean, for example, here they are saying to use this, this tractor to actually be able to be, towed around, and it is very weird because of this. So very interesting. Doesn't have like a front wheel or something. So very, very cool. And yeah, just a system that didn't really came into service, if I'm not mistaken, but it is still pretty cool, right? So another AA system that can be added that it's very different. Swiss and German made. Another one that was an AA system. Again, guys, this is a guy that I always talk about. Wrecking Ares 283, of course. He suggested the Type 03 for the Japanese, which is pretty interesting. It is, of course, a multi-vehicle AA system that it's one of the most modern ones that they have, right? Yeah, it would basically be the top tier, really top tier one after the Type 81. The major thing here is obviously much better radar, of course, than a Type 81. Much better. And also, the main thing is the new missile. So this new missile would have a similar-ish IASA seeker from the AM4, right? So it would be a much, much better missile. And the performance would probably be around the SAM-T or the Buck or something similar to that, right? So yeah, a new AA system to the Japanese that can actually be added. So very, very cool. I don't have too much of the numbers over here, range and stuff, but it is going to be very good. Obviously, right? So yeah, very cool Japanese AAC. Another one very quickly for Phoenix RX0 Alive over here. It is the skin for the JAS or the Gripen, right? A model with this skin. So yeah, very cool. It's just a normal like skin suggestion, right? Nothing too crazy, but yeah, we need this skin. I love it. Probably my favorite skin, maybe after the Brazilian skin, although that our skin for the Gripen is very, very like normal. It doesn't have anything too different, right? The normal skin. Of course, we have one that was painted with the Brazilian flag, right? But in a general sense, it's just normal skins, right? But it's my country, so yeah. But yeah, this one is just pretty amazing. So yeah, another one from L'Autre de Mer, which I think it's a very small thing, but it would be very cool, is that in the service record, we would have, I don't know if you can see it, but the country of operation of the vehicle and not the country of the factory. So for example, here, if you are using Iranian vehicle, it would appear as an Iranian flag. If you're using a Swiss vehicle, it would appear as a Swiss flag, etc., etc. I think it would be cooler than just the Tech 3 flag, because sometimes you see, for example, the AMX A1 there, that's the premium one. You will see as an Italian flag, but it is the Brazilian vehicle, right? So why not the Brazilian flag? The same goes for every single vehicle, right? It would make a lot more sense, especially for sub-3s and stuff. It would make a little bit more sense. Nothing too crazy, but yeah. And then two sub-3s or Tech 3s or anything here that you want to say, that I'm just going to pass over it, not going to talk too much about, but it is the Indonesian sub-3, basically made by Yonsei. And here he gives us like a lot of options for vehicles that were used by them, right? So we can have in any nation, I don't know where. I mean, I would imagine that it would be added to the Japanese, I think, right? Because of the helicopter. I think it's Indonesian, right? If I'm mistaken. I have to check. But yeah, it's Indonesian. So we don't need every single vehicle like this, but some of them could be added. That would be very cool and help Japan be a little bit stronger. I can include here a Leopard 2, for example, AMX 13, stuff like that can be added, and it would be very, very cool to see. So the links are in the description for you to check it out. But yeah, he gave a full list of vehicles. Not going to talk about every single one of them. But yeah, very cool. And the same goes for the Israelis over here. A suggestion made by KID, which is the Israeli rank 1 through 3. He also gave us a lot of options that we can have in that Tech 3 to have a full-fledged Tech 3 up to the rank 4 that the normal Tech 3 starts, okay? So I'm grinding this Tech 3, so it would be cool to see earlier vehicles as well. So basically these are it. These are the ones that I think, I mean, apart from the MiG-21 that I don't know exactly if I want it or not, but it would be cool no matter what. These are the ones, the suggestions that I think Gaijin should be adding. Let me know in the comments what is yours. I will leave the link in the description for all the suggestions, and see you guys. Bye.